Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vince.
This is the 80s. Men are allowed to show their emotions now.
We've got Chris.
Just call me Edward Babyhands.
And I'm Kia. Welcome to the show that will not be bound by human bureaucracy. We are reading some West Coast Avengers here. We got the new Wanda and Vision show is out. We'll probably give some of our thoughts on that at the end of the show. I think we've all been watching it. But we wanted to take a look back at, some of the stuff that was defining Wanda and Vision's relationship here. And these issues from West Coast Avengers that we're reading 50 through 52, which I think is like kind of the core ones that we're going to be talking about here, which is all about Wanda's babies and kind of what the deal is with them. And then we also read 56 through 57. I don't remember why we broke these issues up this way, but it seems like a strange selection of
that
issues.
way. I think
Are they collected that way?
Yeah, because in the middle there's the Acts of Vengeance, which had like Loki doing something. Because I remember like in issue 56, they're like, man, it's been a long time since Loki started the Avengers. So I guess Loki did something in the Acts of Vengeance.
The Acts of Vengeance was basically all the villains team up. It's actually a cool idea for a story. All the villains team up and are like, let's fight heroes we've never fought before, which leads to some very cool fights. You get to see... like what if Magneto fought Captain America?
This is what I've been saying. I've been saying this. Like I said this with DC versus Marvel, not just everybody who has the same powers fighting each other. I would like to see Dr. Octopus fight, I don't know, somebody.
Anybody, yeah.
I feel like the Dr. Octopus could be a really good villain for like the Runaways, or something like that. But we're going to talk about Acts of Vengeance.
It'd be fun. That's a comic we didn't read that we're talking about here at the beginning. So we are going to read these other West Coast Avengers issues. Like I said, 50 through 52, and then 56 through 57, and we'll talk about Squadron Supreme number 10. We're getting really close to the end of that here, so we'll talk about that at the end of the show. Like at this point, I don't know if you haven't been following those Squadron Supreme stories. Just like go back and listen to the first ones because you're going to be completely out of luck and not knowing what's going on at this point. There's a lot happening here. But let's start talking about West Coast Avengers here, written and drawn by John Byrne, with inking done by Mike Macklin through most of it. Paul Ryan for the last one that we're reading. Not Ryan.
Not the congressman.
No.
So this is the West Coast Avengers.
R.I.P. by the way, he died last year.
Oh, did he?
The good Paul Ryan, not the
good. Yeah.
Okay.
So this team of the West Coast Avengers, I mean, what else do we need to say about it? Like they just kind of set up a West Coast team. That's it, right?
So I mean, like narratively, I think the West Coast Avengers started as a miniseries in 1984. It was the first Avengers spinoff, and it was a place to put some of the Avengers characters that people liked but didn't have a place in the core Avengers book. This happens a lot with X-Men. It's even starting to happen with the Marvel movies. Is there's not enough like space to service all the characters they've created. Like Doctor Strange and Black Panther are getting movies like 5-6 years after their previous movie. Same with Thor, because there's too many movies in production and not enough places to put people. So like Wanda and Vision are getting put on a TV show. Falcon and Bucky are getting put on a TV show. So it makes sense that like people like Wonder Man, they like Vision and Scarlet Witch, and they just don't make sense in the core Avengers book for whatever reason. So they put them in this. Give them their own team. Yeah. Give them their own team.
Yeah, you want to have 7 or 8 actual Avengers, and you want to at least swap some new people in and out, which means Vision and Wanda have to leave, and Hawkeye and all these characters that people like, but not enough to support a solo title. Although Vision and Scarlet Witch did have a solo title in the 80s. We're not reading that. It's interesting, but it's very dense, and this is more just like I would describe it as fun bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm actually getting like a lot of vibes of the Squadron Supreme that we've been reading, as in like it's a team of characters that I'm kind of like tangentially familiar with, all kind of living together. And I'm actually getting a lot of... I forgot that this was an Avengers book for a while. I thought it was an X-Men book because it reads like an X book to me, and it was giving me shades of New Mutants, which we read last year. Although I like this a lot more than New Mutants.
Yeah, I mean, the Chris Claremont method of, and I guess he worked with John Byrne, who also co-plotted some of that. But that method of storytelling is like front and center, where it's really a showcase for the characters. Like there is almost no fighting at all. So if that's what you like, you're not going to see it. It's almost all talking and like character stuff, which would be good if the character stuff wasn't completely wrong in every way.
Right.
Spoiler alert: Chris didn't like this for a lot of reasons, which he's going to get into later.
Chris came in hot. Chris came in saying, "If we want to read a bad book, I think that this is a good idea." And I go, "Okay." I mean, it's a monumental one because, like, obviously, like, tons of Marvel comics, especially Bendis comics, for some reason, and like House of M, reference Wanda's children and what happened to them a lot.
And I think we'll talk about that more once we get to it, but it is a pretty big deal, I think.
In Marvel Comics history, buried in West Coast Avengers 50 through 52.
Right.
And so the children are born, Scarlet Witch and Wanda. Again, there's so much backstory. But again, if you watch the WandaVision show, you kind of know they fall in love. They fall in love over the course of Avengers. Steve Englehart starts writing in, I think, the early 70s. And it's a really sweet love story. For a long time, Vision is like very clearly in love with Scarlet Witch, but he doesn't want to make a move because he's like, I'm not truly human, blah, blah, blah. And then finally, it comes out, they like each other, they get married, everyone is happy. They have kids, which everyone is like, how did this happen? But they're like, well, he's a synthetic man, which I guess means that he has all the parts that a man has. And then they're like, and then Wanda used her powers to like make it more likely that she could somehow get pregnant from this, and then has a kid. And then I think what sets up that John Byrne does this is the issue 12, again written by Steve Englehart. Doctor Strange delivers the baby and is like, oh, and somehow, even though I was being your OBGYN, magically, you have a twin. You actually have two kids. I don't know how I didn't see this before. I guess it's Wanda's magic. So it's like, it's a very like, wait, what? What is going on?
This book is filled with a lot of that. It's filled with a lot of like, wait, hold on, what?
That sets up that like Wanda is like crazily powerful and is able to like pull a fast one on Doctor Strange, and that's why I guess John Byrne is like, I'm going to ruin this woman's life. The arc immediately before this. Mm-hmm. The arc immediately before this is Vision is kidnapped by the U.S. government, completely taken apart. When they rebuild him, he has no emotional connection to his memories. John Byrne goes on record of saying basically the Vision is a toaster. He's not a real man. And he's like made it clear that he's like, Vision sucks. And, Wanda was pretending to be in a relationship with an appliance because she's crazy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay.
You know what?
Great.
I don't like the white Vision costume. So coming into this, Vision does suck in my head. I like the green and red and the gold a lot more.
It's been a while since I've seen that. Yeah, the white Vision costume is like the one I remember the most from the video games.
Right, and then, Captain America and the Avengers, because I went back to it and I'm like, who is this guy in an all-white suit? Even now, you're like, who is that? And then you're like told,
I forgot
Vision.
about it. Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay.
I'm glad they dropped that.
It's a bad design, and it's also, like John Byrne does so much when he's writing and drawing, where he's like, oh, this will be less work for somebody, and then like when he did Wonder Woman, he changed her costume so she had like 2 stars on her swimsuit bottoms, because he's like, I ain't drawing all those white stars.
Okay, well, so now we know who John Byrne is. All right, but let's talk about.
He's smart in a way, but it's also just like, I hate this design.
Yeah. But who's on the team here? We've got, of course, Wanda and Vision. We've got Hank Pym and the Wasp are on this team. Hank Pym's like never in costume, barely. He's just like the regular guy on the team.
Yeah. Again, without getting into it, he's retired from being a superhero, but he's basically in every issue and like helping them. So it's like, you're not retired at all.
But and I'd read earlier that Iron Man is like their financier or something.
Yes.
Okay.
Something like that. He does show up. We've got Wonder Man, who is Simon, whatever his name is. He's like an actor.
Simon West.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, Simon West is somebody else.
Simon Williams.
Simon Williams. There we go.
It's definitely a W. And then we've got U.S. Agent, who's like a fascist Captain America.
Yes.
I know some stuff about him, but we don't need to dwell too long on him.
He's going to be in Captain America, or he's going to be in Falcon and Bucky. I found out.
Is he? Okay.
He's I don't know. The only place I recognize the actor from was the kind of blonde, broy dude from 22 Jump Street in college that Channing Tatum makes friends with. The one with kind of like the blonde, long hair that's on the sports team.
Okay, if that guy got buff, he could definitely.
Yeah, he is apparently Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn's kid. So.
Oh wow!
Interesting.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, you described him. He is the Quicksilver of the group, the team jerk.
What was that movie? Overboard?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, I'm just thinking about that now. That's
Terrible movie. But yes, U.S. agent. Everybody on the team hates him.
Yeah.
And
Why
even
is he
though
on the team?
everybody except him knows that Iron Man is actually Tony Stark again. But I guess to help Tony Stark, they never say it and they pretend they don't know.
Is it? There's some weird.
The
stuff.
government
Yeah.
put him on the team. I think there's a line about that, which is
Yeah,
so stupid. Like, you have to have this government agent if you're going to function as like a private vigilante force.
I actually love it because he's just there for conflict. It's great.
Okay. Well, let's jump into the story. Did I miss anybody on the team?
No, you got the team. I wrote it down too because I was like, I need to like figure out who all these people are in Google and Wikipedia.
It's like Real World, where the first few seasons they would always have just like the worst person in the world there because it's like, look, we don't want everyone to get along. We need a guy that just says like slurs all the time.
I'm not gonna lie, it's a good team setup though. Like, I like the reason I like soap operas is because everybody hates each other and they're active villains, but then they still have to hang out with each other and not necessarily physically fight. So it works for me.
What I thought was real interesting is, you mentioned, Vince, that like in the regular Avengers book, you got to make room for the new blood and like, mix in some other people. This book really just has U.S. Agent, a little bit of Tigra, but other than that, it's all like kind of original Avengers or like very classic Avengers, like folks who were there within the first 100 issues, Right.
Oh, we didn't mention Human Torch is kind of a member too.
Yeah, we're gonna spend a lot of time talking about Human Torch, and
I know I refuse to spend a lot of time talking about
well, we've got to mention it, but it was a very like, what is happening? All right, let's jump into this here. So the whole team is there. They are visited by. Okay, so the original Human Torch from like World War II era comics had a partner named Toro, and
he's like the Bucky to the Human Torch. He also lights on fire.
Exactly.
Okay.
And like this is the original Human Torch who was an android as well, and like maybe
him in Marvels.
Yeah, Marvels.
Yeah, and Vision was like maybe just in original Human Torch's body, but is the Vision. But I guess that's been like disproven or something. I don't know. Doesn't matter. We don't want to spend time on that.
Chris explained this in depth in Avengers Forever, which I think we covered like maybe a year or two ago.
How am I supposed to remember that?
And I don't remember. I remember him explaining it to me at the time, and it didn't make sense.
Okay, so we're definitely not dwelling on it.
It was Immortus. Immortus did it. That's the short answer.
I would say Avengers Forever tries to undo most of this story. So
correct.
So this wife says like, my husband was dead, they said, but now I think he's just missing. I think he might be alive. I think Vision might have something to do with it. And Wanda instantly loses it. She says, lady, how can my husband be involved with your husband's death? It's got nothing to do with you. How could you even say something like that? And it's like, look, Wanda, calm down. She hasn't actually even said anything yet. But Wanda is like, I'm out of here. So she's out. The lady basically retells the story. I don't even remember her name, but her husband was Toro. And Toro at some point got word that the original Torch, finally died. And again, this instantly confuses me because I'm like, I thought that was an android. I don't know, whatever. But that guy's dead.
Yeah. So we're talking about the guy who might be we thought was dead, but might not be dead, thinking that another guy was dead who isn't dead.
There's a lot of
right. Yeah, because Human Torch came back in the early like Silver Age Fantastic Four to fight the new Human Torch, but then died.
Of course. Yeah. So Toro gets word that the Human Torch is dead, and so he goes to the funeral, and he's like, weird, why aren't there any other heroes here? Kind of a small funeral. And then the Mad Thinker, I guess, had staged this whole thing, drugs him afterwards, and then makes him think he's the original Human Torch, and makes him fight Namor, and then like he dies, and Namor informs the wife. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. I don't know.
Again, and a lot of it is just retelling and like retconning 20-year-old at the time comics.
Yeah. It's a lot of that. It's like, what? Okay, doesn't matter. We're moving past it. Tigra is living in like a pet cage.
I love it.
Like
Tiny Tigra is what I called her.
She's tiny for some reason. I don't know why, but she triggers an alarm. I don't know what triggered the alarm. She's just like rah rah rah.
It's because she's gone crazy. She's become an animal, and so Hank Pym is like, I'm going to shrink you down until you become a human again.
Yeah.
Is Tigra a good guy or a bad guy? Because she looks she's mixed in my head with the Wonder Woman villain, the Cheetah.
Cheetah. No,
Oh,
Tigra
this
is
not-
good. I mean, it's just there's only so many Tigra plots that there seem to be, other than her being like a sexy sex cat. Other than that one, where she's always trying to seduce married men, the other plot seems to be, oh, she's becoming more savage. So she's doing one of those, and so again, they've shrunk her down and made her a pet, basically, which is weird.
I love it,
Until
though.
they can cure
I'm
it.
happy with it,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, U.S. agent says, "Oh yeah, I saw her killing mice in the kitchen," but he didn't tell anyone. And they're like, "What? What? U.S. agent? Why didn't you tell us?" He said, "I only answered the U.S. government." Yeah, fine.
Which is hilarious,
Also, why didn't you tell anyone we had mice? That's important to know too.
right?
I would leave them
let's-
out there. That she's performing a great service for the team.
I know. Why are you putting her in the cage?
Do you think Tigra, like, is just putting like a dead mouse in U.S. Agent's Captain America boot?
Oh, yeah, I'd do that. I'd do that.
See, now there's 3 Tigra plots, Chris. You've already expanded the character.
So the team goes out and about. They're looking for the original Human Torch's body in this graveyard. That, like, well, nobody's been buried here in over 30 years or something like that, And Vision goes down. Like, yeah, I can confirm the body's down there. Hasn't rotted at all because it's like an android body. But we got to get some papers before we can dig it up. And Vince, you texted us a picture of the Scarlet Witch going, "Papers? Scarlet Witch will not be bound by human bureaucracy," and like uncovers the grave. But then the Torch wakes up and flies away. And I'm like, okay, so this guy is alive? Why'd they bury him? I don't know.
Well, you got to bury him because if he has, well, I don't. This story seems to change that. But I thought if he touches oxygen, he immediately lights on fire. So you got to put him like in a concrete thing,
Yeah.
bury him, so
Yeah.
oxygen doesn't touch him.
Well, okay. So yeah, he lights on fire and flies away. Wonder Man goes after him. Meanwhile, what was this? Okay, there's some girl in California who gets visited by a dudette in the shadows. We've had a lot of dudes in shadows. This is our first time seeing a dudette in the shadows.
It looks
we
like
don't
there
know
might
who
be a
this girl-
baby in her hands too.
Yeah, there was another set of eyes there. I didn't know what was going on, but a dudette in the shadows and a baby in the shadows, a first-time twofer right here.
Little Deuterino in the shadows.
Yeah, a little Deuterino. So yeah, nothing that I can remember reading that came of this in these issues. Maybe it was leading to something in the ones that we skipped. But Wonder Man, goes and talks to Torch, brings him back, and they're like, "Hey, here's the Human Torch. Everybody meet him." And Vision shakes Torch's hand, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, what a momentous occasion! These two shaking hands. It's like treated like a big deal." I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
Right. Well, it's treated like a big deal because they thought they were in the same body,
Right.
so it should be
Yeah.
impossible.
And then they're like, "Hey, Torch, you want to join our team?" And he's like, "Really? Cool." And I'm like, "Okay, that's cool," but like, I was a little confused. I'm like, "Wait a minute, have we stopped looking for this lady's husband now?" It feels like they stopped
Yeah.
like caring about him at all. And the Human Torch also looks exactly like Hank Pym, which confused me a few times.
There's a panel where they're literally right next to each other in the
Yes.
same color outfit
Yes.
with the same haircut and the
this-
same
yeah.
blonde eyebrows.
It's
Yeah.
very difficult.
But
Yeah,
they're
you
not the two that
definitely-
are the same body. It's Vision and Torch that are the same body.
Right.
Right.
You definitely. I mean, John Byrne's a good artist, but he runs out of faces. Like the Widow is basically grown up Kitty Pryde, where it's
see
like
that.
he only can draw so many people.
That's fair. I
Yeah.
can only draw so many people too. But I'm also
I can barely draw one people. Iron Man then comes back at the end of this issue, and it's like a big "Whoa, Iron Man's back!" hanging out at the base. Yeah. So next issue we jump right into it, and they're hey, who's in the suit? And U.S. Agent goes away, and they're like, "Cool, okay, we can talk freely now. We know it used to be Stark in the suit, but who is it now?" I can't tell you. I'm like, why can't you tell us? You are Stark. Just be honest and they're your friends. What's going on here?
It's
I
the
don't
weirdest, most convoluted thing. I love it. I hate it in Iron Man comics when it's like
I-
sometimes it was Tony Stark, but now Tony Stark has hired somebody else to be in the Iron Man suit, but it still is Tony Stark. But this is my ruse, so then Magneto will not know that I actually remember fighting him because I'm a different dude. And I'm like,
I'm also just
come on.
I'm thinking about the Avengers of this version, at all ever hanging out at the base, and just poor Iron Man always in this metal suit. Must not be comfortable. You just got to let your face breathe sometimes.
we've talked about that since fucking Godzilla, where they were playing Monopoly all in costume.
That's right. That's right.
Which contrasts to real life. Apparently, Iron Man 2 is the last movie that Robert Downey Jr. actually was in a physical Iron Man suit. He never was after that. In 2010 was the last movie. The rest of it's a full CGI suit, and he's just there. And sometimes he has like a little mask just come on over him with like nanites. Otherwise, he's like, fuck this. I'm not in a plastic suit. I'm going to be wearing a t-shirt. Fuck you guys.
That's great. I love that.
Which is much more Tony Stark in my vibe compared to him sitting around in a robot suit around a mansion.
Yeah, it makes sense with Iron Man. I do think it's annoying in like Endgame when like Spider-Man's taking his mask off every 10 seconds where it's like, I know it's Tom Holland.
So Wanda and Vision are then like talking about their relationship and humans and robots and all that kind of stuff. And they walk in to check on the kids, and Agatha Harkness is there. What?
Oh, that wasn't a dudette and baby in the shadows. It was a dudette and a cat in the shadows.
Oh, was that her? Okay.
Because the first panel that she's revealed in, she's holding the cat in the same position where the little
wait, what did she have to do with that random girl in California?
She was the babysitter.
Oh.
For Wanda's kids?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
They keep, it's been a subplot in John Byrne's run, and maybe even a little before, where they keep firing babysitters, and we don't really know why.
Okay, I see.
Oh, but it's not like a funny comic gag that they just keep every like a Mary Poppins beginning where like they just can't find a nanny. Okay.
I mean, it kind of is, but it's for stupid reasons instead of funny reasons.
Okay. It's not like an ongoing defense of the dark arts teacher or anything. All right.
No.
Or Jerry's girlfriend. I love it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
We can
Agatha Harkness. We really could. We should take over this book. Is it still going?
It is. I think it relaunched and had like 4 or 5 issues and then got canceled again.
And then done. Wow. That's because they didn't hire us. So Agatha Harkness is there, and they say, hey, but you were dead, buried at the stake. She's like, yeah, that sucked, but I'm okay. And she says, by the way, it turns out your kids disappear when you're not thinking about them. She's like, what?
That's cool. I like that. Is this the first time
that
that concept has been introduced that these kids are like fucked up and possibly not real?
Yes, that's been spoiler alert for most of why I hate this book. Yes,
because I mean that seems like a heavy like front and center in the WandaVision like commercials that there's something fucked up with these kids like that haven't come up in the first 2 episodes, but
right. But I mean that's also we'll talk about WandaVision later, but it's very clearly not real.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, the Torch, this is so serious. The stuff with Wanda, I really wish it was taking like more time in these comics because we spend a lot of time on the Human Torch. The Torch meets Toro's wife, and he's like, "Oh, hey, that's my old partner. You're his wife." And I'm realizing they put this guy on the team, and Dylan didn't tell him what they were working on at all. Like, hey, we're looking for your old partner. Like, this is the first he's heard of it when he's just, like, putzing around at the mansion and runs into Toro's wife.
And it's so obviously just like, oh, we'll pair these two up, where you're like, okay, why is Human Torch here?
And why is she still hanging around, like, the whole time? Like, 7 issues later, she's still there. I don't get it.
I guess they're not making progress.
And they, like, go underground, and they just don't bring him on the mission later. I don't understand why he's on the team.
I don't know.
Well, they're hanging out and they get jumped by monsters jumping off the roof. What? Like out of nowhere. I'm like, okay. At some point, what does Wasp say? She says, "Is this my imagination, or does there seem to be no point to this battle?" I'm like, "Yep."
Wasp is your point of view cynical character. That's yeah. I like her.
I will say Wasp is decently written in this.
Yeah, I liked her. I actually liked her and Hank Pym quite a lot in this. I think that kind of role of Hank Pym being the scientific, normal closed leader of the group works pretty well. Especially because he's one of those guys who doesn't actually have powers. You know, he just kind of uses a lot of equipment, so it works. But we find out that Master Pandemonium has showed up. He's stolen Wanda's babies. And there's like demons everywhere because he's like a demon dude. And holy shit, this guy's backstory is nuts.
I love it. I love this. This feels so. Maybe it's because Master Menace is the same name, a very similar name. Yes. But this feels like a Squadron Supreme. Like we're going to make up this most batshit insane backstory for a character in 3 pages. And I'm here for it.
It's literally like those Tales from the Crypt stories we were reading a few months ago. Like it's that stupid.
I love it though. So when Chris,
Yes.
like, I hate this book, I'm like, this is my kind of book right now.
It's very
Except for the
entertaining.
baby stuff. I do like Master Pandemonium just being completely insane.
What I will say is that this book is filled with so many interesting things that I think are terribly written, but I can't help but just appreciate all the ideas in there because they're just like, bam, this is happening now. I'm like, whoa, okay, all right. But Master
Can we call him?
Pandemonium.
Can we also call him? Because the letterer just didn't want to write Master Pandemonium all the time. Every now and then they call him Master P, and I want to keep
Master
calling
P.
him.
Yeah, we can call him Master P. So Master P gets
Or Master Panda.
Master Panda is also good. But he's gotten in a car crash. This normal dude in a car crash. The car is like upside down, and he's hanging out of the car on like a weird cliff thing.
What's also insane about this backstory that we're told is that it's the Human Torch who tells us this. The guy that's been alive for like 10 minutes.
Oh my god! What?
I didn't even pick up on that.
I'm like, why would he's like, Hank Pym told me about this guy, Master Pandemonium. I'm like, why would he tell you about this guy?
Yeah,
This one in particular.
yeah. He has lost his arm in this car crash, and he's just like hanging upside down with one arm torn off. And Mephisto shows up and replaces both of his arms with like demons. I thought he was only missing one, but he replaces both of them because why not? And now he's got demons for arms. And he also tore his soul from his body, leaving him marked by a giant gaping pentagram, and his stolen soul is scattered into 5 pieces that have been spread all over, and he's recovered one of them so far. And I'm like, okay, that's a lot all at once. Okay.
Well, it's like a Harry Potter Horcrux situation. I'm for that. You know, parts of his soul have been taken apart. I do like the art design that it was a pentagram, but then he's found one piece, so one point is now gone. So it is now four-pointed gaping hole on his chest.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like
the
it.
demons fall out of.
I love it. It's cool. I mean, the final page of this, I'm just going to jump ahead. He replaces his demon arms with fucking babies, with the Wanda's kids.
with Wanda's babies that he kidnapped. So this dude, this panel. Oh my god.
Vince, you're a father. How would you feel if you came home one night and your children were on somebody's arms?
Not on somebody's arms. They were somebody's arms.
Yeah, they had just become his arms.
Well,
no, wait a minute. Now that's interesting because what I didn't realize is like I was thinking like, well, now you don't have arms, dude. But then I realized, wait a minute, no, now you have 4 arms because each baby.
Everybody has
2
4
arms.
but this is.
Oh my god.
But Vince, answer my question. How would you feel? What's
how
your
would you feel?
reaction? You come home and there's a guy with a pencil thin mustache, and he's just got Bruce and Diana just as his arms now.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I feel like I might go crazy, like Scarlet Witch would go crazy.
That's fair. That's fair.
I feel like this is like you're saying that she's crazy, but I feel like Byrne has written quite accurately to what would happen.
Like, yeah, you would go crazy.
If you found out that your children were actually 2 of the 5 soul fragments from this dude who made a deal with the devil, but actually they were the devil's some bullshit. I don't even know. We'll get to it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not even the true case. Is the crazy part.
And I will say, if you want to see Master P and his Babyhands, definitely just look up the end of West Coast Avengers 51 and then issue 52 as well. It just goes into like a bunch of fighting scenes where he is using these baby hands, and it's really a thing of beauty. It's
so stupid.
It's the dumbest shit I've ever read, and I wrote down like, God damn it, I love comic books. But
I mean, like Byrne is a good artist. I'm not gonna.
He really isn't. Yeah,
Although in 52, you can see he just stops drawing backgrounds. He's like, look, I'll draw a bunch of demons and I'll show them fighting the Avengers, but I will not draw a background behind that.
Well, I will say that I like his art a lot more when he's drawing the demons. You can tell he's having a lot more fun with it, and just like it's a wilder art style as well. I almost thought it was a different artist for like the end of 51 and 52 because it started to look very different. But I did really like it, yeah. But jumping straight into 52, Master P reveals that Thomas and William are 2 of his missing soul fragments, and he's finally recovered them.
He's so happy about finding these soul fragments. His tummy is 3/5 of the way closed.
He's very excited.
So the canonical reason that this happened is that Scarlet Witch wanted babies with Vision, and at the same time the deal with Mephisto was being made. And so the fragments flew out of his belly and
Well,
she
no.
snatched them.
Hold on. Later, we learned that Mephisto was just lying.
Yes,
to him.
but this is
I
what's
don't know
presented on this page, at least.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she snatched those souls that were flying out of his tummy, and she made them into her babies.
Right. It's a real. What was that movie with Robert Downey Jr. actually, where like 4 people die right as he's being born, and so he's like haunted by
Heart
4
and
ghosts
Souls,
forever.
hell
Heart and
yeah.
Soul.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's making me think of that.
With Charles Grodin and the closer. I don't remember. Chris Sedgwick.
Yeah, Keira Sedgwick. Yeah.
What a movie.
And what's his name? The that character actor, the bus driver, is
Yeah,
a
it's
famous character.
shoot. Now you've ever. I know his name. It's like Kevin or something. I know who you're talking. David somebody, not Kevin.
Kevin or David or something. All right.
Yeah, a spooky looking character actor.
That guy. Everyone knows that guy.
If you saw him, you would be like, "Oh yeah, I know that guy."
Heart and Souls.
Yeah,
What a
yeah.
movie! I remember my parents putting that on, and it's like, and it starts with like 4 people dying on a bus. It's like it's a fun comedy. And like, I'm like, it doesn't seem like a mom and dad.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So back to the cops. Meanwhile, all right, wait a minute. So Agatha Harkness is now filling in the Human Torch and Toro's wife about what's been going on. And I'm like, why are you filling in these 2 people? I don't know why. They don't matter. The panel. I wrote down that my panel of the week is one of these baby like hands is chomping down on Wonder Man's head. That was my panel of the week right there. I don't remember when it happened. I stopped writing down notes for this issue because I started to lose the plot with it a lot. But yeah, Mephisto's like, hey, yeah, Master P, I lied about all that stuff. And like Master P hears it. I don't know why why Mephisto just decides to tell the truth now. Very confused.
No, Master P can't hear Mephisto, but Hank Pym, he's Mr. Logic and Reason. He's like, wait a minute, you said this happened like 3 years ago? Her kids weren't even born yet. That doesn't even make sense. And so, or no, I think it's reversed. The kids were already born when he happened. So he's like, no, see, because shut up, Hank. He's like, you lie, Pam. That would make this crazy. This baby hands situation.
Yeah, this baby hand situation is getting out of hand. So yeah, there's lies. Human Torch shows up and he's like, hey, Master P, I have your other 2 soul pieces that you're missing right here. Want them? But you have to promise not to hurt the Avengers. And he says, yeah, give them to me. But then he like gets sucked into himself and he implodes because they're incomplete. And Agatha Harkness gave them to. It's just so Deus Ex Machina. Literally, I feel like everything that happens in these books is just like sudden and Deus Ex Machina. And it's like, hey, this is what we're doing now. Except what? All right, what's the word for Deus Ex Machina? But when it's not the end, whatever that is. It happens all the time.
In media ex machina.
There we go. In media ex machina.
Yeah, it's literally. I mean, it's both this issue and the next 2 issues we're reading. The Avengers are just standing in a line, reacting to like, look at that.
Yeah. But then like Wanda's kids are also gone. Mephisto's like, yeah, I took them, and Agatha says, yeah, it's for the best. So I'm just gonna make her forget it all. And
so again, so this is the part. Again, not the only part, but. It's just like, so John Byrne, because he is like Vision isn't a real person. And again, this would be like if Next Generation in like season 5, they're like, hey, remember that season 2 episode about how Data is a real person and everybody on the ship that, doesn't treat him like a person is a piece of shit. And that only like the captain and all the like good people treat him like a person. They're like, no, actually he's not a person. And you're dumb if you think he's a human being. Or like I said, even if he's capable of personhood. So they make that clear. And then they're like, so because he's not a person, Wanda can't have kids with him. She dreamed the whole thing, including having children, including raising like toddlers. None of it was real. It was all in her head. She's crazy. I'm like, I mean, that's just such a goofy retcon that it's like, what is the positive of this? I mean, obviously the end goal is to make her evil, but why?
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
like I'm reading.
I read it more as like, again, I guess the Mephisto story is like, we're going to come up with the most ham-fisted way to get Peter Parker single, without a divorce, or her losing her kids. Like, we just want to get rid of the kids as a storytelling
Right.
device.
But I just don't understand.
I don't know why you would though.
But I don't know why you would either, because fucking Franklin and Valeria just disappear from the book for years also, and it doesn't matter.
It's fine.
Like, I think Rachel on Friends had a kid for like the last 3 or 4 seasons of Friends. The baby never showed up.
Yeah,
So,
Ross had a kid from season 1 onward.
you can
That
write
kid
them
should be
out.
like
So I don't
10
know.
years
So
old.
that logic, I guess, doesn't make sense. I was trying to figure out that. Also, did Vision die? Like, I don't see the panel.
He's not in the last two. He's not in the last 2 books.
So Vision during Acts of Vengeance, he goes back to New York for no reason.
Okay, is that it? Because he's just lying on the ground when the Avengers are in a line, being like, "Well, ain't that some shit?" And Vision's just laying prone on the ground, like on page 20.
Yeah, he is alive. He leaves the team in between the issues we read. But again, I guess spoiler alert for the last page: Wanda leaves the team, and then immediately comes back as a villain.
Yeah. I mean, let's jump ahead here. So I guess between 53, 54, and 55, some other shit happens. Doesn't matter. We jump to 56.
Tie-ins, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Magneto does show up, which I guess is supposed to be setting the scene for what's happening.
Yeah.
The witch is
Wanda,
back. Oh,
and
like trying to
she's a
say
villain.
the bitch is back, but it's the witches.
Oh, I get it. Beginning of 56, everyone is frozen on the team. Not everyone. It's like Simon, Wonder Man, Agatha Harkness, Hank Pym. Wasp is frozen.
Yeah, it looks like she looks like she's got a costume change.
Okay.
Just those 4. Yeah, she's wearing a different costume. I actually love that about the Wasp, that she always
She's fashion forward.
She has a dozen outfits that she rotates through. It's cool.
That's good. I like that. Yeah. So there, like, some stuff happened. I guess Simon died, and Wanda brought him back to life, but not really by bringing him back to life, by altering reality to a point where he had never died.
Yes.
And it's like, holy cow, Wanda, you used to never be this powerful. Your hex powers were uncontrollable. And she's like, well, I'm better now, and I'm bad. Ah.
Yeah, and she's also wearing a Magneto cape that also makes it look like she's wearing a bow. It's very stupid looking.
Yeah, it does look like a bow, and I like the big W gold brooch that she fashioned herself. But maybe it's upside down M.
Yeah. And she is now, like, also flirting with Simon while he's frozen. And she's like, hey, I knew you were into me and Vision, but we're done. So, like, let's fuck. And I don't know what she does, but Simon's like, no. I don't.
So
happening here. Looks like maybe she scratches his chest.
So this is worth noting because there is a CBR, like Secrets of Comics Revealed. This was a last-minute editor change.
Okay.
Because if you look, you see the top of Wanda's head as Simon's like, no.
Oh, no.
That was added.
Weird.
Did she give him a beach? Is that what
That's
this was?
That's what it looked like originally. And they're like, what is supposed to be happening?
Yeah. I'm like, that's very
can't be that.
I'm not into that.
He is not into that.
Well, the Wonder Man is definitely not into it either. That's the God. All right.
It's very strange. Like,
well,
I don't
meanwhile,
know what I'm supposed to think happened. Later, his like chest is all scratched up, but it's like it's very weird.
Meanwhile, a lot of stuff happens, and I don't know how any of it connects.
I do. Yeah, I like that. There was we missed it, I think, because Human Torch wasn't involved in the scenes with Master P, because he was just hanging out, and he's like, "There's a cat just running around. What's this cat doing?" And I'd forgotten about Tiny Tigra, so I'm like, Human Torch is just confused by cats.
Okay. Well, there's also Agatha Harkness's cat. We're sure it wasn't that one.
Agatha Harkness has like a familiar, like a magic cat that turns into a monster.
It wasn't that cat though. It was Tiny Tigra he saw.
It's Tigra.
We've got so she's escaped, and Human Torch is like, "Hey, Tigra, where are you?"
And they're like, and they're also like, I wonder what happened. Who broke her out? How did she break out? And Immortus has just been watching. He's been watching for several issues. He's like, it was me.
I guess so.
He's watching it like a reality show, just talking to the TV, like, it was me. I did it.
I caused the equipment failure.
It's such a minor, like a spoiler alert, I guess. He's later revealed to be the one who caused this breakdown. So it's like, I caused this whole crazy chain of events, but I also let Tigra out of her cage.
This is so convoluted. Oh my god!
Because Immortus is Kang of the future, right? Kang the Conqueror, time traveling villain, and Immortus is an older version of Kang.
He's Old Man Kang, and if you watch the X-Men cartoon, he's the guy that pretends to be the janitor when Bishop is in the crossroads of time, which is revealed to be Limbo. That's Immortus.
Wow. Okay. So Immortus does not show up again. We also Black Bolt and Lockjaw from the Inhumans show up for a second to talk to Hank Pym.
Quicksilver and Lockjaw.
Oh, did I miss that? No, it looked like Black
Quicksilver
Bolt.
hangs. My notes was that it was Black Bolt because I don't know the Inhumans very well. I'm like, that sure as shit is Lockjaw, and I think that must be Black Bolt. But now I'm looking at it. Yeah, of course it's Quicksilver because Quicksilver lives with the Inhumans, right?
Yes, at the time he's still married to Crystal.
You're totally right. I'm looking at it now. It is Quicksilver.
I know.
I saw Lockjaw and I assumed. Yeah.
This was another time where I was about to text you guys. I'm like, Chris, I know you say you hate these comic books, but this has Lockjaw in it. Like, how can it be bad?
Yeah. Well, it's also I got confused because you know how Lockjaw, you see the thing on Lockjaw's head, which is like it looks like a wrench pointing up. Quicksilver's hair is kind of like that, but I know Black Bolt has a thing like that as well. So I got mixed up.
It is treated like a reveal because Hank Pym's just like you. He doesn't say like who it is. So when Quicksilver shows up later, it's supposed to be kind of a reveal.
I see. Okay.
We also get Hank Pym. Again, this is a stupid retcon that sucks. Hank Pym is like remembering. He's like, that makes sense because I did this test with Wanda and her hex power, where he's like, Wanda, please, destroy this inanimate carbon rod. And so she does it. And he's like, see, I knew this would work because see, this had no flaws. And oh shit, now there is a flaw. So she altered reality to travel back in time or something to create a flaw.
Like her powers not only cracked the rod, but also made it so that it was always cracked, which is like what? How? Okay, cool.
So I like because I don't come into the X-Men and Wanda's powers until Bendis era, so she's always had reality altering powers to me. I don't get these probability powers. Also, there's another character in X-Men is luck powers. I don't get how that's a power.
Long shot. Yeah,
and Domino.
And is it maybe Black Cat also has luck powers?
Black Cat has bad luck powers.
Ah, okay.
What?
But not.
What was that bad luck movie? Do y'all remember with Martin Short? You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Where he had bad luck.
Three Amigos. No. Yes.
No. There's was it Martin Short? Was it somebody else? I gotta look up this movie. This is a great movie where he's got the worst luck in the world.
I don't know.
Anyways, that's a mutant power right there. I'd be into that. Martin
but
Short.
Either way, I don't get real. I like the reality altering. I like this is exactly like fucking One More Day to me. I'm I'm okay with how the end point of all this stupid story. I'm happy with where we ended up, but I don't like how we got there.
So what else happens here?
Well, and to me, it's I guess when I get to final thoughts, I'll explain why I hate this book so much. But it's a retcon that's to what end? What does this do?
Yeah. So
he has lost the plot.
So I'm like,
it doesn't matter. So Magneto shows up.
Magneto shows up. Human Torch gets an eviction notice for the Avengers. Whatever.
Yeah, who cares about that subplot?
Who cares? Yes, yeah, Magneto's there. Quicksilver's there.
Yeah, Hank Pym sees Magneto and is like, I'll get the drop on Magneto. I'll easily defeat him. Me, Hank Pym. But then Quicksilver knocks him out.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to let y'all take over for 57 because the only thing I wrote down for the next issue is that Paul Ryan inked this one, and it all just kind of glazed over me because I don't know what happened in this last issue. I read it.
Oh, wait! This issue also did have a weird dumb tease before we get to the final issue, where it said tune to the end because we'll have something, and John Byrne just basically explained how he fucked up by telling other people they could have Tigra when Tigra was tiny in his book.
Wait, what?
Okay, the final pages, and now here's that important announcement you promised back in page 6. And this got John Byrne's drawing, which looks like him from the Assistant Editors Month. He's like, sorry, I fucked up. I told the editors something different. I'm sorry.
I don't think this is in my... I didn't see this anywhere.
Yeah, this is in my Marvel Unlimited.
Yeah, it's at the end of 56. Yeah, there's a one-page cartoon where he's like, whoops, Tigra was in another book. I forgot that she's 6 inches tall right now. And a cat.
Interesting. So the back of my 56 has like a West Coast Avengers reunion with Captain America and Cersei and
an
like the
Eternal,
original
yeah.
Human Torch. They're talking.
Yes.
Okay, that was there.
Yeah, it's right after that.
I didn't
don't.
have that.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm so sad.
dumb.
it is very dumb. So 57 is, again, like, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't.
None of this matters. But basically, Magneto is like, enough of this. Let's get out of here. And just like shunts all of, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch and him, just like lifts them up into space. I don't know how
island.
Yeah, I don't know how they breathe. I guess I shouldn't think about other science facts.
And Magneto has like a space satellite at this point that he can go live on. There is a point where Iron Man also says, like, I reformulated my iron so it's demagnetized, so you can't do shit, Magneto. And then Wanda like turns off all of his systems, and Iron Man falls through the sky to the ground. And Magneto's like, "Oh, that's fucking funny, because if he did have his stuff was still magnetic, I could save him, but now I can't." Haha.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the dynamic they're setting up is that, like, Magneto, who's only recently become a villain again, because he was leading the New Mutants like 4 years ago, but he's like, Wanda, like, you're crazy, like, you're going too far, because she's like, kill them, kill the Avengers, and he's like, no. Like, why would I?
Yeah. So what else actually gets accomplished here? They just like leave and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, the Avengers roll up in the Quinjet, and then Magneto rips apart the Quinjet.
Yeah, and it's very obviously hinted because, again, like last issue, Hank Pym saw Quicksilver and Lockjaw and then got like knocked out by him. It's very quickly set up that he's like, "Hey, Jan, Quicksilver." Oh, I probably shouldn't say anything. Magneto might be listening. Quicksilver is let's not hurt him. And Jan's like, "Yeah, obviously." Like,
because Quicksilver was a hero at one point in early Avengers history, right?
Yes,
with
he
Scarlet
joined
Witch,
with Scarlet Witch, but like the way he's used is so often a villain. Like he gets mind controlled by Maximus all the time, or like he fights somebody because he doesn't like them. Like he is used as kind of a wild card. But here it's very obvious that like he and Hank Pym planned this out. He's going to be the mole in Magneto's operation to like figure out what's going on. But they can't say it, so the reader is told this in case you didn't like put it together. When again, like Hank Pym saw him and then got like sucker punched by him, and it's like, well, you knew he was there, so you shouldn't have been surprised.
I should probably also clarify for our people listening who are only familiar with the movies. Magneto is Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver's parents. Quicksilver is her brother Peter from Avengers 2 that died.
Yes.
So.
Also, he's in various X-Men movies. They basically cut a deal back when Fox was its own company that they would keep Quicksilver and Marvel would get Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, because I think Wanda is technically watching TV with Peter, like in one episode and one part of Days of Future Past. They may even call her Wanda, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, she is present in those I think she's in X2 as well, although it's just a cameo. But yeah, they're like, no, this is now a Marvel character. You can keep Quicksilver. But now it doesn't matter because they're all owned by the same mega corporation. So we can look forward to, I guess, Quicksilver showing up in WandaVision probably.
Ooh.
Can't wait.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think of that.
He could now.
Kick-Ass might come back. He might.
We'll see what happens.
Interesting.
Yeah. Or we could even have the Inhumans from Netflix, ABC.
Yeah. So Magneto he bundles up the Quinjet into a big ball that I guess is airtight and throws the Avengers back to Earth. And then it ends, and I go, Chris, why did you give us something that doesn't resolve?
Yeah, because that's the end of John Byrne's run. He's done with the West Coast Avengers after this fight.
Or did he leave of his own accord?
I think it's one of those deals where it's technically of his own accord, but I'm pretty sure they wanted him to leave. My understanding is that he basically pitched a event involving a Mortis that would have basically been Age of Apocalypse, but with a Mortis.
Okay.
And that I guess it would have been Tom DeFalco was like, no, we're not doing that. And so I guess Byrne was like, oh, okay, we're not doing that as an event, but I'm still going to do like a year's worth of story in West Coast Avengers doing it. And then, Tom DeFalco was like, I thought I said no. Like, why are you still doing this? And so he voluntarily left the book.
It's funny because in the next issue, Fabian Nicieza, or however you pronounce that, I've read it for decades, but I don't know how to pronounce it. He's written as the reticent writer is his title on the next issue.
Wow. Okay.
Under protest, he's writing Avengers West Coast.
That's so weird. This book barely resolves. It's literally the villains are like, I think, I don't know if you said this before recording, but basically all these arcs are just the villain just walks away. Say bye. I'm done.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's no like fight in either of them. Like Magneto rolls him up in a ball and sends him back to Earth. Master P, his tummy eats him and he disappears. And then Mephisto is basically just like vanquished off screen and is like, I'll get you.
Yeah.
Like it's very strange.
I don't know. I got nothing else to say about these individual issues, but I'm ready to start talking about the impact.
Yeah, well, so I'm curious to hear y'all's final thoughts. I mean, I know Vince and Kia have kind of said what they think. I'll explain why they're wrong if they like it.
Well, I'm in the middle because I like a lot of the elements of this book, but I don't like the books themselves. I think they're terrible. They're fun, but parts of them are fun. The last issue, I was just like, I don't care. But there's a weird, like, I'm entertained by what I'm reading, and it doesn't feel like it's going to amount to much, though, because it feels none of it feels earned. It all feels just like, hey, here's what we're doing now. Yep. And yeah.
So I don't know if Squadron Supreme has helped me with team books, but I historically don't like team books. Right. And even then, I don't know many of these characters because I mean, we've read Scarlet Witch books, but I don't really, follow any of these characters. I enjoyed the team. I enjoyed the team dynamics. I liked the stupid stuff, like the tiny Tigra. And I like that things don't necessarily make sense. And I like there's a lot of things going on, like the landlord showing up to repossess the house and everything moving very quickly. And I like the Babyhands, and it's all stupid. And I like some of the art design. And as far as other team books that we've read, like specifically New Mutants, and X-Force that I think we've read, I like this a lot more than that. So I don't have any I don't care about these characters' past and history. I was along for the ride. I'm like, oh, okay, this is fine. It's resolved way too quickly. The art doesn't show why is Vision on the floor. The babies disappearing seemed very quick and then not dealt with at all.
Nothing. Yeah. Oh.
I mean, to be fair, Kia, you want to get into impacts, and we'll talk about that after Chris's part. There is fallout from this, but it seems like a decade later.
Well, yes. I mean, honestly, I think that does color why I hate this book as much as I do. But yeah, I think I've been clear. I don't like this book at all. John Byrne has an axe to grind, and he's literally just, it's such a storytelling trope of we're just going to dump on this character, just bring them to their worst possible point but the way he does it is really sells out the character completely. Wanda is basically in denial her whole life that this marriage and children she had were all denial. It's so crazy that this level, it's one thing to just have Peter Parker's girlfriend die or whatever, that's obviously you're making bad things happen to the protagonist. It's and we've talked about the pros and cons of that before, but this is literally, it's but also Peter is completely wrong, and his he is in denial about reality. And I maybe wouldn't mind it so bad, except that and we've done Dark Phoenix for the show, which is all about a kind of the releasing inhibitions and finding out she's too strong for herself and blah 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 and losing control. That John Byrne does that in 1980, 1981. And then he does it again with Invisible Woman, where she gets controlled by Malice, which makes her wear a bondage hood and call herself Malice, and then reveal I'm actually much stronger than you guys know. I only hold myself back because I'm this meek girl, blah, blah, blah. And then he does it again for a third time here, where it's I was only pretending to be nice. Now, Simon, I know you've had a crush on me, and now I'm evil, so I'm going to maybe give you a blowjob.
It's, you know what it is? Now hearing you talk about it just reminds, it's very WWE booking, where everyone gets buried and nobody gets put over, and it's all shock value.
It really is. Like it's entertaining enough because if the alternative is just like nothing happening, you're like, well, I guess things are happening. You know, it's not like 6 months of like we're waiting, we're in holding until WrestleMania, where that's just boring. But it's also just like if the goal is that what are we supposed to and again, like the next writer immediately retcons Wanda being evil, but like why were you doing this? It just doesn't make sense for the characters or the stories you want to tell. If you told a story that ends with Peter Parker like becoming like a selfish villain, you're like, well, you kind of ruined the book.
Right.
Like, we can't keep, we've got more Spider-Man comics we have to sell. So it's like, where do you go from here? You have to retcon it back because it's so crazy. And of course, we'll talk about it, I guess, here at the end. But even though it was retconned, it got unretconned later.
Well, it's interesting to look back now at Bendis's run to be like, did nobody really touch on this for 10 years of her like losing her kids and then having her mind basically wiped of them? Like, I could definitely see why someone would go mad about that, and do the whole no more mutants thing.
That's Wanda's defining characteristic to me.
Right.
Is the idea that she had this traumatic like thing where her marriage was like invalidated, her kids disappeared, and her like her control of reality and her reality powers like on the fritz is like a defining characteristic of Wanda. And WandaVision goes into that too. Like it's a straight line. I mean, House of M, she created House of M as basically like this faux reality where her kids were back alive. And I think the new Avengers run that Bendis has like carries over for this, like at least the first few years. I remember a Hawkeye and Agatha Harkness and Wanda issue that was like a standalone, drawn by like Alex Maleev, I want to say.
You mean Ronin?
It might have been no. Ronin was somebody different.
I don't know.
Ronin was somebody
Wasn't
different.
Ronin Hawkeye?
Yeah, that was Echo.
Echo was Ronin. Ronin was Hawkeye in the movies because.
Whatever.
But Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch were fucking. I don't know. But
either way, like that's spoiler.
It's such a defining characteristic of Wanda that I thought that there would be more meat to this and more build to this, as opposed to that. And Chris, this is it. And like I said, it does kind of wreck the character, and then. So they have to reset it and just pretend it never happened. That this was all Immortus. Immortus basically, I know we're not reading the next 3 issues. After 2 issues of filler, Fabe under protest writing a fill-in, but they resolve it by basically Immortus is like she can reshape reality, and that's why she should be, I guess, married to me because I'm the time fixing guy.
Yeah, if you can reshape time, reshape reality, that's it. You got all the gems right there.
Yeah, so that's what Immortus wanted, was to get Wanda to join with him. She doesn't do it. She ends up turning away. And then basically we're like, I guess she's divorced from Vision. Vision later gets his memories back and becomes a person again instead of a robot that is just like, what is Kiss? But it's just like, it's such, to me, and I get it. It's like you have to sell comics every month, but it just kills the character. And they've kind of tried to resolve it. And like, this is the new character. She's unstable. This is like a defining aspect of who she is now, which I guess is fine. But it's very strange that after, like, just imagine any other, imagine, I don't even know who's 20 years old. Imagine Deadpool, who's like 25 or 30 years old now. If, now they were like, actually, Deadpool has magical powers.
I think a better thing would be like if they did that to Miss Marvel all of a sudden, like Kamala Khan.
Right, Kamala Khan. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just completely remade her in a way that like sells out the character, where it's like actually her family always planned for her to be a hero, and like this was all preordained. It wasn't Tarragon, mist stuff. Like it's retconning that doesn't give you new stories, and that
it takes away an interesting story. Yeah. Okay. Well,
so that's why I don't like it. And it's also because it's the third time he did this with a female character.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. That's like such a. I mean, I turned on Bendis because I'm like, you've done this story literally in this way 3 or 4 times, and like I think that was like the end. I'm like, you're just spinning your wheels here, or just like relying on tricks. And like, I shouldn't have said Bendis' name, but Bendis definitely was one of those ones. I was just like,
yeah. When he brought back Norman Osborn as the Dark Avengers for a second time, I was like, you can't do this.
Okay, we're done.
Yep. But WandaVision, I think that's a great show. I recommend it. I was big into those first 2 episodes.
It's very fun, and I will say I've read people that didn't like it because they're like, not enough is happening. But if you just watch it as like a piece of entertainment, not really
just to enjoy,
it's like their chemistry and like doing like 60s style sitcoms. I'm like, this is actually very funny.
Yeah, I don't know if the people who don't like it have this familiarity with like 60s and 70s sitcoms, because I grew up like watching Nick at Night like every night.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, this is just a Dick Van Dyke episode straight, then with like Marvel elements on top of it and like a menace beyond it. But I think like the core episode is fun to me. But I mean, I guess like the idea if you've been waiting 2 years for new Marvel stuff, because the last movie was Spider-Man Far From Home, summer 2019. This is a weird one to go into, given the rest of the Marvel.
Yeah. I love it though.
Yes, it is very different, but I appreciate it. And again, it's like you can't do action on a TV budget. So there's literally no action in these first 2 episodes.
Vision accidentally swallows his gum and it gets stuck in his gears and he's drunk
and he's like
for an
drunk.
episode.
Oh, it's
so stupid and I love it. That's such
I love that. I love the diagram of it. He's just got like gears turning. Amazing.
It's like of the era cartoon and special effects, and it made me so happy.
Well, it was like a very Bewitched intro as well for that episode, which I need to recommend this show actually to my mom, because my mom is a huge like Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie fan. She loved all those.
The first one is more Dick Van Dyke Lucy, and the second one is much more Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie.
You can see them also like progressing through the eras. The second episode is further in time, not only in their relationship, but in like the history of television.
It makes me wonder if they're going to do like an All in the Family type of parody.
They said that I read a Paul Bettany interview, and he said like, I'm super familiar with Dick Van Dyke, so that episode was easy to make for me. But the Malcolm in the Middle episode was weird. And I go, what?
Oh wow. So they're gonna have like the kids be like the Malcolm in the Middle kids.
I'm thinking that, so. And then and he also said they got like the Modern Family style also is what is going to be one episode. Ooh, so
wow.
I'm like, this excites the shit out of me.
That's very cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
but no, I recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, like you think about it, I mean, there are things where I associate with those shows, and it's a lot of fun as like a history of TV. Even if you don't care about the like mystery box Westworld side of it, of like what's really going on. Like ultimately, I don't know. They could be in limbo. It could be Wanda doing it herself, or it could be they're in space. Like who knows?
It sounds to me like Wanda's just like being kept under drugged or whatever, and she's asleep, and someone's just recording her dreams. Like that's what it looks like to me.
In the trailer, it definitely seems like Agatha, or is her name Agatha?
Agnes, but
it definitely sounds like she's
Agatha.
Because there's a line in the trailer. It hasn't happened in the episode, but it's also not a spoiler because it's in the trailer, where she says, "Am I dead?" And Vision is like, "No, why would you be?" And she's like, "Because you are."
I like it so much, though. I think they thread the needle really well, though, because comics that I hate and TV shows I hate is where they dick around for 20 minutes to get to a cool cliffhanger. And I feel like the show is very much like the mystery box is like the undercurrent, but some shows just dick around to get to those mystery box elements. And I feel like these single episodes are fine on their own.
Yeah, this show says let's be entertaining.
Yeah. So just telling your mom, watch episode 2 of WandaVision, you'll enjoy it as an I Dream of Jeannie episode. Yeah, I think makes sense.
Exactly.
I think we're ready to move on to
Squadron Supreme. Watch the first episode too. It's got Eric's mom from that '70s show.
From that '70s show,
Kitty Foreman.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, let's move on to Squadron Supreme now. I think we're good to go. Plus, we've got a lot to talk about here in Squadron Supreme. These issues are getting dense. We're getting real close to the end
This is
here.
a long episode for us.
Oh, this is going to be a long one. So buckle up. But yeah, we're not going to do any recap because we don't got time for that. So Squadron Supreme 10, Tom Thumb has just died. We get like a special report on the life of Tom Thumb, his technological gifts to the world. His name was Thomas Thompson, which I found funny. But they're like covering everything. All the nation's prisoners have been behavior modified and released now thanks to his stuff. 1/10 of Americans own the force belts that he made. He's made these pacifier pistols. But the last thing that he was working on is the hibernaculum that Power Princess introduces. And it's like a way to keep you in stasis until we can figure out what killed you and cure it. And even Tom Thumb himself is being kept under stasis until they can cure cancer. And it's like, okay, it's a nice way to bridge the gap between issues.
Yeah, I remember us saying that, like, that time I'm like, this is a dumb idea. It's like, people will love it. And I'm like, what if you're like stuck there for 70 years and your whole family is just dead once, and everyone you love, because that's when we finally figured, I'm like, I would just let me go. I'd be fine.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
what about your dog Seymour that waited for you for 10 years and then died?
Yeah.
Well, no, hold on. None of them died because they're all in hibernation as well. So
because they only have 10,000 of them, but I guess that's gonna be when the chickens come home to roost in 200 years when everything's fixed, that's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, it's gonna be a problem.
I do like that Power Princess Zarda, and I'm actually calling by their real names now, not Wonder Woman. She's standing in front of a chart of like where they are on their goals. Like hunger, 100%. We completed it in 10 months. We got 2 months to go. We've done it. Economy.
That cracked me up. I was like, what does this mean? Economy, 90%.
Like, okay.
Crime,
cool.
85%.
Everything is in even 10% chunks as well. There's like
they do some
rounding quite a bit. Yeah.
Poverty, 85%. Looking good.
They've got
that's 7/8, guys. Poverty is 7/8.
We don't know how much she fixed the environment though. She's blocking that part.
But curing disease only at 50%. He did not. Tom Thumb did not get as much done as he wanted, but at least they got this done until they could figure out how to cure disease. And she's like, "Hey, and we need your help. Everyone, sign up to help us cure cancer." Cool. Meanwhile, President Nighthawk, former President Nighthawk, and his team are watching this on TV. He's got a bigger crew now. There's some people that we have not met yet, and I'm excited to get to know them. But he's just like, yeah, this is we got to stop them.
Including one guy I'm not excited to get to know because he sucks.
Well, we'll see more about that in a second. But they're like, hey, I wonder why Quagmire hasn't made a public appearance in like a month. And yeah, why is Hyperion wearing sunglasses? I like these other villains being like, we're only seeing them in bits and pieces from the media, trying to figure out what's going on with them.
Yeah, it's a cool touch.
Yeah. Meanwhile, at the regular team meeting, everyone's got their assignments. Dr. Spectrum and Foxfire are paired together again. And, Foxfire's like, how'd you manage to swing that? And so they're like, they're boning. Hyperion, he's got his image simulators. He's still blind, and he's wearing these glasses that are helping him just kind of see. But they're kind of acting up. He goes to Ape X for help, who's kind of taken over as the technological lead of the team. She and Aida are hanging out together. And yeah, Hyperion feels a little helpless without his glasses, but Arcana and Power Princess are helping him. And then we see a little bit more of this combo of Dr. Spectrum and Foxfire. And I'm like, you know what? Dr. Spectrum is a villain. And Foxfire is like a reformed villain who's like likes, a little bit of fun. And she's like, oh boy, that guy's a riot when he's putting on his official work voice. Like that kind of stuff. I'm like, these two kind of fit together.
He flies her like in like a bed with like silk sheets to the fight or wherever they're going.
Sleep while they're flying there. Yeah, they're going to help demolish a building and like break it down. I like this as well because this was an interesting issue where you didn't hear very much opposition to the Squadron Supreme from the general public. With the exception of the beginning of this scene where they're like, oh yeah, those two people from the squadron are showing up. That's all right. They're supposed to be helping. But then they help the job get done like super fast. And they're like, whoa, awesome. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, this is one of the first times. And I feel like as a reader, I've been very frustrated with the squadron and the squadron members. Yes. I'm actually liking the squadron this issue, which then I'm like, wait a tick.
Yes.
I'm not supposed to like it.
So exactly. It does a lot of
I'm confused right now. That's where I'm like my emotional state is.
Yeah, they're mostly not bad people. They mostly are well intentioned.
Yeah.
It's again, I think it's a good commentary on because Watchmen is a deconstruction of the Charlton characters. This is more of a deconstruction of like Silver Age DC, where it's like Hal Jordan is an asshole. Like I don't think there's any way around it. So it does make sense that it's like he's like, oh, I can have sex with this reformed villain who's also very hot and into me. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we do see little signs that, like, even in this scene right here, Power Princess and Arcana are heading to like a science thing, and Arcana's like, "Hey, why didn't we bring Ape X? She's the real smart one." And Power Princess says, "Yeah, a female ape. I don't think she'd make the best representative for us." I'm like, "Yeesh, all right, Power Princess." I think Power Princess is probably like, she's very, very well intentioned, but she's also simultaneously like just the most extreme in her beliefs, which is like, oh, I don't know.
Right, which again, it's like it's playing off that Wonder Woman thing where she's like, well, on Paradise Island, we all solved war 1,000 years ago, and you're like, shut up, we get it.
Apex fixes Hyperion's glasses, and he's like, oh, thank goodness. And she's like, well, if that's bad, imagine what it feels like being a legless mutant ape. And I'm like, oh, Apex, I'm sorry. But she is building a robotic simulacrum of Tom Thumb, which I'm very excited about. I don't know if this... I'm excited for it.
That's weird. I will say it's also, I think it's probably to this book's credit. Like Watchmen, of course, famously, you get to see superheroes have sex, and it's very weird. Apex is so horny for Tom Thumb, and I'm glad I never see this happen.
I think though the horniness though and the romance of this book is pretty good though.
I think so too.
I think because like as you said, like a lot of like romance and like relationships and like people wanting to bone each other is like awkward or gross,
very ham-fisted as well. Like oftentimes where it's like, all right, whatever.
Like,
but I believe it.
Like there is an undercurrent and anything like that. Like Spectrum is wanting to fuck this person that he's brainwashed, but also like Foxfire is like a villain and like kind of ready to party and like also like exploit down. Spectrum for her own needs.
Yeah, and it's like, if Batman had this technology, he would have like been dating Catwoman. He's just like, no, we can't. You're evil. But like this problem has been solved. She's not evil. So,
but Foxfire is like taking advantage of the situation for her own needs. And that's a nuance that I really like. Like Foxfire is like still fairly independent.
Right, like I said, Catwoman, she's always saying yes. It's Batman that's like, no, I can't. But here it's like Foxfire.
Okay, I get that point now. Yeah, I didn't get that.
Yeah, Foxfire is saying yes, and he's like, oh, also yes, because you're not a bad guy anymore.
So meanwhile, we've got Quagmire, who is still in a coma, but Dr. Decibel is kind of checking up on him, and he's like, oh, his powers are starting to manifest now. He's like making muck all over the room. Oh boy, that's not okay. I should mention, that's also the cover art is muck everywhere in the squadron dealing with it, so I'm sure we'll get to see some more of that soon. We've got Lamprey and the Eagle, Blue Eagle, are teaming up for a job. And, Lamprey kind of on the way there, they're flying to their job. And he says, like, hey, Eagle, can you, like, talk to us? I feel like you aren't really showing a lot of us ex-villains any respect. And Blue Eagle's like, damn, actually, this guy's right. I really haven't given these guys a chance. So, they kind of talk. They go to a behavior modification center. So
and of course, he feels bad because he was an asshole to Quagmire. And then Quagmire saved all those people and went into a coma.
Right. So this is a little bit of a Blue Eagle, just kind of, seeing what's going on here. But they're going to a new behavior modification center where they've got a bunch more machines being built in the center so that the squadron doesn't have to do it themselves. Which I'm like, wait a minute, didn't that news report say that all the prisoners have already been released? Like, why do we still need more of these? But okay. There's a job fair happening. I'd really like this scene at the job fair where, Whizzer is like signing people up for jobs, blah, blah, blah. People are thanking him. Shape is there, and Shape loves being with kids. He's so happy to be a good guy now. The kids are like, you're better than Santa Claus. Shape might be my favorite. He's the purest character in this book, without a doubt. He's just happy being happy, It makes me smile.
I like all the reformed villains. I feel like... We talked about this, but like this book feels so much like Ecstatics that the core cast has changed and so many people have been folded in. Like with fairly recent, like Apex wasn't in the first 4 or 5 issues of this book.
Right.
Neither was
right.
Shape, and neither was like Lamprey, and I don't even Quagmire, and everybody's like in this. I'm like, I'm liking all these characters. Like they've all been folded in really well.
Yeah.
It's good. It's just good. I don't know how it's good plotting or like just good like be able to like say a lot with just a few moments. Like Shape only has like 2 or 3 lines per issue, but you're like, I love this guy.
I do automatically love it. Like he is what he needs to be. So at this job fair, 2 new heroes show up. Ooh, Moonglow and Redstone. What? Wait a minute. These are people on Nighthawk's team. Oh no. So they show up. I'm so excited for this. They show up to apply for jobs, and they're like, "We want to be on the squadron. We have powers, and we want to use them for good." And Wizard's like, "Huh? Okay, let's talk about this. Like, we've never heard of y'all. How did you get your powers?" Like, "Oh, we just got them recently. We can tell you all about it later." It's like, okay. So, like, Moonglow shows off her powers of gravity, but that's all an illusion.
Yeah, she actually has illusion powers.
Yeah. They put them on, like, they give them blindfolds and take them to the base, which seems like a bad idea. Plus, Moonglow's illusion powers makes it look like she's wearing a blindfold, but she's not. And they go, and they're in. The 2 members are in, and Redstone we met last time. Moonglow we did not meet, although I instantly think of Moonstone, although I don't even know if she was around at this time. I don't know who she's supposed to be, so we've got President Nighthawk. I can't help but call him President Nighthawk, even though he's not technically president anymore. But he feels so presidential. He's sitting at this desk. He's watching the TV screens with some surveillance of them being let into the base. And what's this guy's name? It's Archer, basically. He comes in, and he's dressed up in a Golden Archer. He's dressed up in a new suit, but he's on Nighthawk's team. And so now my feelings are very mixed about which team is a good team, because I'm like, oh, I don't know, Archer's on Nighthawk's team. I don't know about that. But Nighthawk's like, hey, everyone needs redemption. And Archer's like, yeah, I mean, I never could have done that if the squadron hadn't created this thing. Oh, jeez, I don't know.
Making excuses for himself. I hate this guy so much.
He's the worst.
They're all bad teams. They're all
they really are bad. They're all bad teams. Yes.
Nobody's good, which I have to remember because I'm like, oh no, these villains are infiltrating the squadron. What will the squadron do? I'm like, no, the squadron sucks too, Vince. Remember this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I have so many emotions reading this.
Yeah. I'm again, who is your most pure squadron member that you like the most? It might be Apex at this point, honestly.
It is Apex. Apex is number 1 with a bullet.
And Shape and Apex and Shape are my 2 favorites, I think, right now.
I want to go back and reread, how were they villains? Under what criteria do we define them as villains? Because it seems like Shape and Apex just may have gotten in a bad situation, and and under different circumstances they'd be totally successful. So, but maybe they were successful villains. I don't know.
I mean, it seems like Apex was in charge when they were kidnapping Archer and stuff way back when.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a win in my column. Anybody should kidnap Archer.
That's also true. Yeah, Apex went up in our book.
Maybe they just hate fascists. Maybe Apex's team was just Antifa.
It's like every Poison Ivy story where she's like, "I hate this polluter. I'm an eco terrorist." Where you're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, that's fine. So President Nighthawk gets a phone call on his private line from Master Menace, who I also like. This guy, I like Master Menace. I don't like him, but I like seeing him in the book. But he says, hey, I figured out where the squadron's got a bunch of behavior modification machines. I'm gonna go steal them. I don't need you to get me those plans anymore. And Nighthawk's like, hey, dude, listen, think about the heat. I'm gonna take care of it. We've got some people on the inside. We're gonna get you those plans. And Menace is like, all right, I'm giving you 2 weeks. So I like that relationship.
I do love it because it is just he's written exactly like Dr. Doom. He's so self-serving and he's arrogant, but you're like, yeah, but I respect him.
So the next scene is one that I'm like, oh, I did not expect it to go here at all. So the Squadron Supreme is meeting, and they're like, what do we do with these 2 new people? Moonglow and Redstone. Wizard says, I want to nominate them to be, a temporary trial membership thing. And Arcana says, yeah, sure. But like, what about some background checks? Should we do something like that? And Blue Eagle says, well, what if we didn't do background checks and skip that and just behavior modified them so that we don't have to worry about it? And I'm like, that's kind of a smart idea. It fits your track record, but at the same time, I don't know if that's the best course of action.
They certainly seem like they've never ever considered the thought of adding new members from off the street.
Right.
Like, despite them adding new members recently, they're like, I don't know, this feels wrong, but like also I have no reason to say it's wrong. But shit, yeah. I don't know. They seem confused. I guess it'd be like if I ran a superhero team, it'd be a legit concern.
Well, I think it's also different because, like, at least these villains, like, they knew them and they needed to modify them to get them to stop being villains. Right. And these are like strangers. So I guess that's a little different, but it's a very strange situation. I don't know. He gets outvoted. They don't brainwash them, but I guess they're still like trial members now.
I don't know what that in the bylaws means or not.
Yeah. They do vote to make a new recruitment program to kind of be on the search for new heroes, which is interesting. They get interrupted because Dr. Decibel calls for help. Quagmire's muck is everywhere. It's chaos. Everyone's like breathing this goop, and they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. Some of the other villains are getting excited, like, oh, is he waking up? Is that why his powers are coming back? But it's like, it's a mad situation. Hyperion dives into the muck, goes to like the life support machine that Quagmire's on, and unplugs it. And like all the muck disappears, Quagmire disappears as well. They kind of ascertain that maybe he's, just sucked into the same dimension that the muck came from when everything got shut off, whatever. Dr. Decibel is dead though.
Yeah,
like he
so I was gonna say Dr. Decibel, R.I.P.
That's sad. He was another one who was just kind of he was the most innocuous member, I think, so far of the team. He was just kind of there, working in the background.
Yeah. Remember last issue, when Arcana was like, "Don't tell anybody. I'm actually very pregnant." He was like, "I don't think that's safe or smart."
Yeah, but he's like, "I'm not allowed to tell anybody." So, and then, we just got everyone like kind of sad, like, "Oh, what a shitty way to go." And like, yeah, they're all shitty ways to go.
Yeah.
I don't think they said shitty. What did they say? Bad ways. Whatever.
Yeah, Whizzer says they all are, which is, some poignant stuff. Again, the Whizzer is, I hate him a lot less than most of the squadron.
Mm-hmm. He's hateable for different reasons. Again, he's well-intentioned, but yeah.
Well, he's just kind of stupid, like as far as crimes go, like he's not actually like, Again, all the good members have already quit because the squadron is so obviously wrong.
I hope we see Amphibian again. I don't remember if we see him again, but I really hope he shows up.
Yeah. See, he was a good one because he's just like, you guys are wrong. I keep getting outvoted. I hate this.
Yeah, I'm out of here. So that's that issue. A couple issues in a row now, ending with death. Sad. But I mean, this book is going places for sure.
Death Month continues. We didn't even plan it.
Yeah. So what are we doing next time? Of course, we're going to go on to Squadron Supreme number 11, getting real close to the end here. But we are also getting close to Valentine's Day. Ho! Time for a little romance in our lives. We've got one of the biggest comic book weddings that we have yet to cover. We were actually looking like, are there any comic book weddings we haven't covered? And we realized Lois and Clark, the two people whose names you might remember from Lois and Clark, that TV show.
Back in the 90s, they were in a famous TV show.
And about the time they got married on the TV show, they also got married in the comics. So there was Superman The Wedding Album. It's like their wedding issue. It's a standalone issue. I think it's pretty long. It's got a lot of different writers in it, a lot of different artists. What did the tagline say on the cover? The event of the century. And you're invited. Whoa. I can't believe it.
Wow.
How'd I score that? So yeah, I'm excited to get into that. What else do we have to talk about? Vince, anything going on with you?
Nothing's going on in my world. Nope.
All right. Chris, what's going on in your world?
Your Stupid Minds. We have an episode that will probably not be out by the time this is out, but will be out soon after. It's a good one, a movie I will, spoiler alert, recommend people watch, called Nemesis. It's about cyborgs that fight crime and realize that the terrorists are actually the good guys and the police are bad. So it's got a good message for all the kids.
I'm into it. Yeah, great.
It's got a bunch of 1990s era gun fu where a guy literally from the third story of a hotel room shoots like the floor so that he can, like in a circle, so that he can drop through the floor like Bugs Bunny and get away from the bad guys. It's great.
Okay. Interesting. Cool. I've just been, streaming, building my little Twitch channel here. Kiarash, if you want to check it out. That's 3 R's in the middle. Having a good time. Becoming a little bit more of a variety streamer, I think, because I can't just do Mario Maker the whole time. But, just whatever I'm playing, I'll just stream it. So check that out if you want to see my face.
Yeah, and I added you. I've not actually shown up in any of your streams, but Twitch is supposed to tell me when you're streaming. So
wonderful. That's very nice of you. Thank you. Something interesting. Oh yeah, I started that Wrestling Empire game, which is absolutely nuts. It's this completely broken wrestling game where absolutely crazy stuff is happening. One of these days, Vince, Chris and I are going to take over this podcast with wrestling talk, and you're not going to know what to do about it.
Yeah.
Little by little, it's infiltrating.
Yeah.
Yes. We've joined the team.
We're there's wrestling comics. We could find one.
Yeah.
God, no. I don't want to read any. I remember reading the Undertaker comics.
Yes. We're going to read those Undertaker Chaos comics.
I don't want to read
April Fools is coming up.
Oh, Jesus, that's terrible. But maybe. We'll see. Cool. I think that's it for the night. Vince, thanks so much. I love you.
I love you too.
Chris, thank you so much. I love you.
Oh no, none of this is real. What's happening?
And listener, we love you as well. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you next time. Have a good night, or day, or morning, or whatever. Bye.